What if I told you that true freedom isn't about conquering everything, but about abandoning everything? Sounds strange, right? Especially when we live in a world where success means accumulating money, fame, followers, status. But what if someone had proven otherwise? What if a man, surrounded by luxury, parties, and ambition, had only found the meaning of life when he lost everything? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. This man was Francis, the wealthy young man from Assisi, who seemed to have the world at his fingertips. He had elegant clothes, influential friends, and the respect of the entire city. But behind this glamour lay a silent restlessness, as if nothing was ever enough. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever felt that even having what everyone calls success, something inside you remains empty? The story that begins here shows how this emptiness transformed Francis into the saint who conquered the world, not with power, but with humility. And it all begins when the life he thought was perfect starts to lose its meaning. This restlessness within Francis began to grow like a silent question that wouldn't disappear, even amidst the laughter, banquets, and prestige that everyone admired. It was as if something was calling to him, something greater than the superficial brilliance that surrounded him. And perhaps in some way, this also speaks to you. Have you ever felt that there's a space within your soul that nothing seems to fill, even when everything seems fine on the outside? If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you most so far. Sometimes someone sharing helps another person who is also searching for answers. And that's precisely why this channel exists, to delve into stories that make us look inward, that awaken something we can't find just anywhere. So, if you feel this kind of reflection matters, leave a like. It shows that this content has value and helps this message reach more people who may be experiencing the same inner turmoil. And if you want to continue walking this path with me, subscribe to the channel. Your presence here is what makes this project grow and become an increasingly profound and necessary space. Now, take a deep breath, because the transformation that began silently within Francis is about to intensify in an unexpected way. Before any spiritual transformation, Francis was just a young man who seemed to have the perfect destiny in his hands. Son of a wealthy merchant, surrounded by elegant clothes, banquets, and admiring people, he was the center of attention in Assisi. When he entered a party, it was as if the atmosphere came alive. Everyone followed him, laughed with him, and wished to be by his side. But behind this glamour, there was a hidden truth that no one perceived. Francis stood out, but he carried a restlessness that grew silently, like a question that never found an answer. Instead of simply desiring comfort, he dreamed of glory as a knight, longed for wars, titles, and honor. It was as if he sought something grand, but didn't know exactly what it was. The more applause he received, the more he felt something was missing. This contrast shaped his mentality, showing that not all emptiness arises from lack. Sometimes it comes from excess. The restlessness that already dwelt within Francis would not remain hidden for long. He went to war believing he would find honor, glory, and recognition, but the impact of that decision led him to the opposite side of what he imagined. Captured as a prisoner, he spent months facing the cold, the silence, and the fragility he never experienced in the comfort of his life. When he was finally released, he returned home almost unrecognizable, consumed by a long fever that confronted his own weakness. Without celebrations, without conquests, without the applause that fueled his vanity, he was forced to look inward. And it was during this period of illness, in this space between failure and the possibility of rebirth, that a hidden truth began to whisper within him. In the midst of the silence, he heard something that no one else would hear. "Francis, rebuild my church." It was not an order about bricks or walls, but about souls, choices, and inner transformation. The voice that Francis heard didn't just remain in his memory. It began demanding concrete decisions, choices that would tear apart the life he knew. After months of trying to return to his old habits, he realized he no longer fit into them. It made no sense to go back to parties, to his father's business, to the comfort that once seemed so safe. The hidden truth that called to him demanded something radical. And it is at this point that his journey takes an unexpected leap. In front of the entire city, Francis stands before his own father, not as an heir, but as someone willing to lose everything. He takes off his clothes, publicly returns what symbolized power, belonging, and wealth, and declares with an impressive calm, "Now I can only say, Our Father, who art in heaven." It wasn't theater, nor adolescent rebellion. It was real transformation. He renounced money, inheritance, his own name, and a new man emerged, barefoot, humble, free. The renunciation didn't diminish him. It liberated him.
Comment below, this makes sense to me. After his public break, Francis did not seek new comfort, nor did he try to replace a life of wealth with a superficially simple life. He chose something few would dare to choose, to draw closer to precisely what society avoided. While many saw poverty as a flaw, he began to see hidden revelations within it. Instead of fleeing from lepers, he sat with them. Instead of looking at beggars with pity, he called them brothers. He walked the streets without possessions, without protection, without status, embracing a form of freedom that depended on nothing external. This gesture was not romanticism, it was sacrifice. It was not delicacy, it was spiritual strength. By living without possessions, he experienced a fullness that could not be contained in the riches he once had. His mentality changed so much that even creation became family. He wept with the poor, talked to the animals, called the sun his brother and death his sister. For him, loving God meant loving every detail of existence, without seeking advantage, without expecting anything in return. This life of dedication wasn't limited to outward actions. It began to generate signs that defied human logic and touched a spiritual dimension almost impossible to explain. Francis, who approached poverty with humility, also began to see creation with a different perspective, as if everything had a secret purpose. And it is in this perspective that the episode of the Wolf of Gubbio emerges, a ferocious animal feared by all that terrorized an entire city. Instead of attacking or driving it away, Francis approached it as one who recognizes a wounded creature driven by fear. He spoke to the wolf as one speaks to a brother, and what seemed impossible happened. The animal submitted, not by force, but by peace. This reveals a mentality that does not seek domination, but reconciliation. And this encounter is only the beginning of the mystical side of this journey, because later, Francis receives something that no human gesture can achieve: the stigmata, the marks of Christ's passion imprinted on his body. They were not external symbols, they were real pains, silent revelations of a profound union. He was not imitating Christ, he was participating in his suffering. A spiritual language inscribed in the flesh, showing that true love also passes through the cross. A man who lived renouncing, serving, and loving everything the world despises could not end his journey in any other way. Francis, who once was surrounded by luxury, chose to die poor, lying on the ground, asking that his body touch the earth as one who returns his entire life to the Creator. He sings, not because his story was easy, but because he discovered a freedom that no privilege can buy. His death is not silence, it is a spiritual impact that transcends time, a cry against human pride, a living revelation that greatness lies not in rising, but in descending with truth. The order he founded continues to this day because it does not depend on power. It depends on mentality. Humility defeats empires. Poverty liberates from the desire that imprisons, and love for God transforms any soul that allows itself to be molded. Francis proved with his own life that the world belongs to those who do not allow themselves to be possessed by it. If you've made it this far, you can tell this story has touched you in some way. Saint Francis didn't just leave a religious example, he left a path of mindset, of choices that liberate and transform who we are inside. And if these reflections resonated with you, leave a comment saying, "That message was for me." It's the best way for me to know that you walked with me until the end. If you want to continue delving into these stories that reveal truths you won't find just anywhere, subscribe to the channel. Your presence is what keeps this space alive and reaching those who also need these messages. And since this conversation made you think, leave a like. That way you help this content reach where it needs to go. There's a video over here that complements this journey and further deepens this inner transformation. Click and continue with me there.